Diver breathes main air, diver is ready.
Today on Heroes of the Deep.
We don't know what to expect yet, so we have to be ready for anything.
I got something. Diver has contact.
Contact.
Stress on such a construction site is out of place. Everything is possible here. At the end of it, stop. This could be a detonator.
The Baltic Sea, the youngest sea in the world. Beautiful, diverse, worth protecting, and at the same time threatened by hidden dangers. It is the workplace of the Baltic Sea Divers from Rostock. Led by the brothers Ike and Jens Papp, they take on any job underwater, no matter how challenging.
Professional divers are the most versatile craftsmen in the world.
They salvage damaged ships, dumped munitions and deadly ghost nets. They probe, burn, repair, and all that in the opaque depths of the Baltic Sea.
We can do everything in terms of professional diving work.
They are the experts for calculated risk. They are the Baltic Divers, heroes of the deep. For almost 20 years, the brothers Ike and Jens have been operating their diving and salvage business in Germany and around the world. The successful family business is mainly hired for operations on the water and underwater. The respective teams, consisting of divers and a ship's crew, are put together appropriately for each assignment. The upcoming trip can be dangerous. Ammunition expert and dive operation leader Frank Distel finds clear words to align the team.
Okay, first of all, good morning everybody. Let's have a quick chat about what tasks lie ahead of us for the next 2 to 3 days. The task we have is the clearing of ferromagnetic suspicious points in the area of the western Baltic Sea, where a construction measure is supposed to take place. That's so typical. It's all plastered from front to back, but not everything is relevant. Not everything could hinder the construction measures. So we have the task to approach several positions. The order is to prepare an area for a construction measure, so munitions are no longer to be expected there. And for this purpose, records were made beforehand. We then clean up the suspicious points given to us from the corresponding iron magnetic parts, and then a construction measure can take place there. Dredging, placing a tower, anchoring, measuring instruments, whatever. We don't yet know what to expect, if it's just lost junk, old foundlings from Sweden or ammunition, so we have to be prepared for everything. Okay, is one of you snuffy or anything? That would not be wise. Now would be the chance to leave, because once we're on the road, it will be difficult. If that's fine, I'd say let's grab our equipment and start upgrading BT2. And go!
The crew will be on board the ship for 3 days. The personal diving equipment and all necessary tools for the job have to be prepared and loaded.
Let's see. T-Sputnik is there in the box, and a stainless steel Sputnik is also there. T-Sputnik to make the surface and stainless steel Sputnik for the ammunition. But take another look from the side into the lattice box that's standing there in front, whether anyone took something out.
What we need in equipment depends on the job. Underwater, much and heavy usually is the credo, so everything must be heaved over with a crane. For a small operation, I'd say we need about 2 or 3 hours. When it's more, we stand here half a day loading. And off we go.
During this trip, the Baltic Sea Divers will be accompanied by an external scientist. Dr. Lisa Hahn-Wörnler is a marine physicist and works, among other things, on the Baltic Sea's current behaviour. She will use the time on board for current measurements. Captain Alex Clara shows Lisa her cabin.
This is your cabin, for you and your colleague. You're home for the next days. As you can see on the picture, down there are survival suits and life jackets. We've installed new TVs. They're brand new. Even the foil is still on them.
I think it's great. I actually expected us to be in a huge cubbyhole with everyone else, so now it's a bit more intimate and maybe a retreat area too. I like to sleep in bunk beds and caves, so I'm happy. I'm used to being out and about with boys. Professionally, I'm from a male domain with physics studies and math and programming, so I have no fear of contact.
While Lisa is settling in her new quarters, concentrated work is being done in the technical area. Together with operations manager Frank, diver Andreas checks whether the diving equipment and the corresponding technology are fully operational.
Main air is on, can be closed. Helmet light works as well.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes, I hear you.
So numbers work. And letters?
Yes, letters work too.
Good, that sound already works. But was it recorded?
We still need a video signal.
Well, let's wait for Eric.
Robert, is Eric up there?
We already have sound, now we need the video signal. Now, please conjure up another image here.
Well, you have 4 different screens. There are 4 inputs on them.
Safe diving requires state-of-the-art, but above all, flawlessly functioning technology. Today, Baltic divers cannot set sail without an incoming video signal.
Now the one up there has to be repositioned so that it gets on the screen.
Of course, that's part of the training here. You're not just a diver, but you become a bit of a technician and mechanic, and everything is part of it. You learn that along the way. There's no script for that. It's not specified anywhere. It comes by itself. It has to, more or less.
It has to work, and it will. Eric quickly brings order to the tangled mess of cables that is essential for survival.
We have a picture, Frank.
I'm thrilled.
The devil is in the details. A plug that's plugged differently, and it doesn't work anymore. We've had that many times, and then you just try and plug back and forth, and there is more technology behind it than you think. But of course, most important is the safety of the diver who's in the water. That's the top priority, and therefore we just test again and again until everything works.
Everything is loaded and double-checked. The BT-2 is ready to sail. Captain Alex Clara gives the green light.
The vessel is ready. The engines are running. There's enough fuel. There's enough fresh water. There's enough rations. I'm doing a function test of the steering gear. Then we'll be ready in a moment. We're waiting for the radar. And of course, I have to prepare our departure music. All right.
The crew now has 6 hours to sail before they arrive at their destination, 68 kilometres away in the western Baltic Sea. Time to discuss a few private matters on the phone. The job as a professional diver is almost as intense as that of a seafarer.
You're on your way a lot of times, especially when there are unusual things such as salvages or accidents, even some operations at night. Those are spontaneous and you can never say how long it goes. The job is done when the job is done. That's the way it is. I don't want to call it a risk, but you know what you're getting into when you take the job in the first place.
Frank also makes use of the last cell phone reception in the port area to call his wife, and for good reason.
My wife turned 60 today, and here you are filming. She's already used to sorrow. We had breakfast today. She got up at 6. They f***ed me here. Look at this.
There can only be one reason for Frank's discreet tension: hunger. After all, it's been 8 hours since breakfast. Captain Alex knows which man is important on board now.
The cook is our basic soul. If he doesn't work, that's it. Then nobody's in a good mood.
My name is Oleg. I'm born in Lithuania, and I cook, ship cook.
Oleg prepares 3 meals a day in his tiny galley.
He's a roofer. He learned home cooking. In 2014, we were looking for a chef. Then he came from the crew agency. After a week, we said, okay, you can stay right here forever and ever, if you want.
And Oleg stayed. His nutritional concept is quickly summed up. Would you like a little more?
The crew and divers have a hard job now. They have to eat the rich meals, you know. And then I'm preparing the maybe a little bit more. Yes, sometimes some people like them some more eat. Rouladen, meatballs.
Empty plates and a good mood are Oleg's favourite criteria. Nevertheless, Captain Alex becomes more specific.
He always cooks a soup for a starter and a main course. So if you're not careful, you can gain 15 kilos in 3 weeks. That's quite something. He knows the number of people, and we can store food for 10 days. That's all our provisions. He just orders the food stuff he needs.
Where I have space, I will put everything.
The storage space for the provisions is just as scarce as the space in the galley, but Oleg has stashed calories everywhere in the ship.
Chocolate and tea. A little bit meat, bread, vegetables, gherkin, sauerkraut, some dry food. Ice cream too.
He does magic. We can't complain. He's the best chef we've had.
At an average speed of 8 knots, a good 14 kilometres an hour, the BT-2 makes its way across the water. But the picturesque passage to the site hides the enormous environmental problems facing the Baltic Sea.
At the end of the Second World War, the Allies decided that weapons, weapon parts and ammunition were to be hidden from the eyes and access of the population. Over months there were huge projects. They loaded ships and dumped the ammunition in dumping areas. Studies of known dumping sites indicate that we have well over 1.5 million tons of ammunition in the North Sea and Baltic Sea, in the area of German coastal waters. So it's high time to clear it out. Not in the sense of clearing out the Baltic Sea, but at the moment it's at most on the basis of construction measures, securing the route for cables that are used for stuff. An area clearance is not to be thought of at all, purely financially and expenditure technically.
At least an area the size of half a soccer pitch is to be cleared by the Baltic divers on this job so that a construction project can take place there.
Come in here.
Before the first dive, the operations manager discusses the exact workflow.
Perhaps to introduce you to the position we are in, the route specified by the client is in the vicinity of a former military area, a small airfield in the Second World War, a seaplane port. So there is a risk that we will find ammunition here. So be careful when approaching. Don't rummage around like wild brutes down there on the materials until we're sure that we can recover it. I can't predict what awaits us here, but everything is possible. The final question before we start. Do you three feel comfortable so far? I would say let's get ready now. Get changed. The diver goes to the toilet again and then we'll meet outside in 10 minutes. Okay? Let's go.
Only one diver enters the water per dive. Another diver is in waiting position as a backup. The hose for air supply and communication underwater is the most important utensil next to the helmet.
Ask Frank how many meters he wants. How many meters he wants to have out on top of the deck.
You can ask me here.
Frank, how many meters do you want to have? I would say 40 and 50, 50 for the reserve diver.
Each diver is responsible for their own equipment and therefore also for the final check.
This is our main air supply. Here the reserve is connected and closed at the hand wheel, so that if for any reason the main air should fail, the diver only has to open the hand wheel and gets air. In this case, he should surface again. Because if the main air supply fails, the dive is over.
The breathing air for the diver is centrally controlled via the monitoring room in the lower deck of the BT-2. It's tough to understand what's going on here.
The whole umbilicals, the hose line for the diver, all go here. The central air supply is here. The diver has full air supply via the hose line, via the main air. Should for some reason the air be empty, or a line breaks, or whatever, and no more air comes, I would close this air supply and simply open the second lever. Then he has the same air again from the second bottle pack and all is well. Without having to turn on the compressor, we would certainly have air for 2 days of diving. We can turn on the compressor at any time, refill that. So we have a higher filling capacity than consumption. Theoretically, we could work with 3 divers at the same time. So, a working diver, a safety diver, and, in case of need, send the rescue diver as well.
The first working diver today is Tobias. Several weights are attached to Tobias's wetsuit for use underwater. Too much buoyancy would hinder the diver in his work.
Nice and heavy, I like that. That's nice. The bottom is very silty. Especially when you do groundwork, you want a firm stand. I now have 8 weights in total, plus foot lead. That's a total of 20 kilos. Now we have a safe stand underwater. Plus the helmet, bottle and suit. That adds up to 45, 50 kilos maybe. I should scale it. I should stand on a scale now. I'm sure I'm over 100 kilos.
The procedures before the dive are routine, but now Tobias is heading into an area of the Baltic Sea that he's never seen before.
That's interesting. If you know in what kind of areas you dive, what you might find, you are, of course, happy. You find it a bit exciting. Get surprised what kind of ground conditions there are. Are there stones? Is there sand? Do I have a good view? We are a bit remote here. I'm optimistic. If I find something, I'm happy. Because that's why we're doing the job. That's why we did the training.
Eric checks all the diving gear again. Safety is of utmost importance. Everything is functioning, so Tobias can dive.
Okay, ready for dive.
Tobias, or Toby, dives into the 10-degree cold Baltic Sea. He heads to the first position that mission leader Frank has assigned him to.
The probe is prepared, it'll then come to you.
This probe is the most important tool for the diver now. With its help, Toby searches the specified areas of the seafloor to find the potentially dangerous ferromagnetic suspect points and identify them.
Ferromagnetic means iron magnetic suspicious points. This is simply related to the fact that the Earth's magnetic field has, if you think back to your physics lessons, you see the Earth and then there are magnetic field lines around it. If you change something within this existing magnetic field system, which is ferromagnetic, so iron magnetic, it can be an ore stone, a railroad track, ammunition, or also a key ring. Then this is measurable. The environment is, let's say, 0. And when I get close to a ferromagnetic suspicious point, the thing starts to strike out or send a sound. And this leads you to the place where the part is with its magnetic poles.
All right, I'll start.
I'll give you the 30. If there's something there, we'll find it.
The faster the sound of the probe, the closer the diver is to the metallic suspect point. The sensitivity of the probe can be adjusted to different degrees. In ever-decreasing circles and with due caution, diver Toby approaches the suspicious point.
Now you have a plus, big plus.
Starkes Plus.
I'll go a little higher.
The higher the search level is set, the less sensitive is the probe. This means that it only deflects when Toby probes very close to the metallic object.
Those were 100 halves, good.
All right.
What?
Nice silty soil here.
We don't know in advance what we'll find down there, so we really have to focus and above all work conscientiously, not just laugh and knock onto it to see what it is. We have to be really sure because it's not without risk.
Oh, I have something. Yes, I still have contact.
You have contact? I'll play with the light a bit.
But that's obviously a chain.
Chain links?
Exactly.
There's still the question of how big, how heavy, how long.
Exactly, I don't have an end yet. I'm still in the middle of it. Do you want to turn on the light? Turn it a little darker. We have a 15mm start. A chain link about 10 to 15 centimeters long and about 4 to 6 centimeters wide.
Okay, without cross, no anchor chain. To me it looks more like a buoy chain.
Exactly.
After 9 years as a professional diver, a buoy chain doesn't necessarily rank near the top of Toby's finds.
I found a manhole cover in front of Graal-Müritz. Questions arise. One can find a shower spray. You ask yourself how they came near the coast. Finding a metallic object every 20 meters is crazy.
Can it be moved?
Yes, the chain can be moved.
So we don't have to hit those, get a crane or anything?
Nope.
Well, move along.
I'm now guessing which side I should take, which one's shorter, which is longer.
I'll leave the decision up to you.
Chain is free.
Both sides?
Yeah, both sides free.
Okay, lower the working line with the carabiner. We have about 1.5 meters of chain, so it's not too heavy. You can pull it up by hand.
Suspicion point 1 on the list can be checked off as harmless. A double success for diving operations manager Frank.
Ammunition was not promised. We are here for a cleanup of ferromagnetic suspicious points. In that case, it was harmless. A piece of chain, get it out and put it to the scrap.
The find of the first dive is documented and entered as successfully cleared. For Frank Diestel, it is an important part of his work that the chain is then disposed of properly on land.
I've been diving in this Baltic Sea since 1979, so I've made many thousands of dives in the Baltic Sea, and I've seen some dirt. For us, it's a professional honor to leave as little dirt behind as possible. We should all work on it. Every tourist should take his garbage and not let it lie on the beach. The next wave takes it along. A plastic cup needs dozens of years until it's no longer recognizable as such, and it's never gone.
At another suspicious point, diver Tobi finds what he's looking for after only a short probe deployment.
There seems to be something. If you can sense what it is, let me know.
Yeah, not quite yet.
Something is coming.
Feels like a shackle. Look at that.
Okay, if the object is free, bring it back. I'll get a working line ready.
Yeah.
Prepare a working line. Pull it up.
And with that, Tobi ends the second dive after 40 minutes. He wouldn't be allowed more diving today anyway, since his blood is enriched with nitrogen during the work at a depth of 15 meters. Now he needs a break at the surface to equalize the pressure in his body.
Diver coming out.
In fact, divers are not allowed to fly for 48 hours after a mission because the pressure difference can be life-threatening.
Helmet comes off, Tobi.
My knee hurts. I ran against a bulkhead.
Satisfied with the performance?
Yeah, it was good.
If you're satisfied, we're also satisfied.
Exhausting. It was very muddy. It was like walking on soft soap. Try to run properly on ice. Of course, you're just sliding. No visibility. The fingers were cold. I couldn't open knots. We don't want to complain, but something's always off.
Wo die Finger knallt, habe ich meinen Knoten nicht aufgekriegt. Naja, wir wollen nicht jammern, aber irgendwas ist ja immer, ne?
There are many ways how things fall into the sea. After 10 seconds, it looks the same as before, but it isn't gone. Of course, we have a big problem that the legacy is not getting any better now, 75 years after the end of the war.
This is precisely why marine physicist Dr. Lisa Hahn-Wörnler is also on board. She's dedicated to measuring currents in the Baltic Sea. This also arouses diver Eric's interest.
Have you ever measured with them?
No.
We need to connect the cable, this line and the weight.
The current meter records which current is present at which times at various locations in the Baltic Sea.
As we are interested in ocean processes, we also need to know how the ocean moves. If you throw something into the ocean at point A, it depends on the current, the movements of the ocean, where it ends up and what happens to it. If there are ammunition dumps here and there are toxic substances leaking out, where can that have an influence on the sea? And of course, also on the ecosystem, the people, on everything that is connected with it. Contacting. Now we briefly have to wait. I can tell you the speed right away. It is 0. That means we have no flow here. I'll leave it for a moment to have a small time series, but there probably is little going on here. It depends on the weather conditions and where you are. If you are further away from land, then you have a deep current.
With the help of the currently collected data, Lisa will be able to create an update for a flow model like this one. It shows the flow of TNT from old ordnance in the Baltic Sea.
The high concentrations are local where the munitions are found, but you can also find residual concentrations of this TNT up to Denmark and into the western Baltic Sea. But you can see in any case that this poison leaks out in these regions and can spread very far.
Some have already certainly heard of it. Near Uzedom, you can have bad luck when collecting amber. It could be white phosphorus that burns your fingers. In principle, these are incendiary bombs that dissolve over time and only the pure phosphorus floats through the water. And that, of course, is visibly bad.
A first long day is coming to an end. Time for dinner. Chef Oleg has prepared a few little appetizers, in his perception.
For supper, we eat everything. The fish and sausages and cheese, and any salad, bread.
In summary, only healthy stuff. Oleg's galley classics score thanks to his secret ingredient.
And then mayo. Mayonnaise for the soft, for the tasty. Garlic in sauce. Garlic already in sauce.
At 6 p.m. sharp, everyone enjoys a good meal.
Da müssen wir ihn so machen. So.
Only the lady on board has something special.
Which nice things do you have for us?
Polenta. Delicious, gluten-free.
What do you eat?
Polenta with vegetables.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simple.
No meat, no.
I'll take some salmon.
Some salmon.
Yeah. To spice it up a little. Yeah.
I have some food with me because I have dietary complications or restrictions, so I always make sure that I can, for the most part, provide for myself on board. That's also important, especially with seasickness. Not that I have the wrong thing on the plate, otherwise the wrong thing ends up right back on board.
Lisa cannot tolerate gluten or lactose. Diver Eric understands this.
I know this from my cousin. He also has so many intolerances and allergies and everything.
The evolution of the food industry.
It's reflected in your suffering?
Yes.
I normally make sure not to eat too much meat, but here on board that's difficult. I don't want anything special cooked just for me. I'm a half vegetarian, but here I eat what's served.
Smutje Oleg really cannot take half vegetarians into account.
I eating so much meat. Then I like to preparing the meat, any kind of meat.
So, siehst du,
We've almost made it.
wenn man einen Tag da draußen auf See.
Working on the sea for a whole day, whether you dive or not, it gets you exhausted in the evening. 1800 is a good time then. 1900, you're ready for bed. Maybe take a shower. 2000? Most people are asleep with a book in front of their faces. There are no long evening discussions or card games, no seafaring romance.
Good evening again. Baltic Diver 2 here. We're now anchored and we'll stay here overnight. Tomorrow morning we'll report again when we'll start to work.
The information is appreciated by the Coast Guard.
Now we'll turn all the engines off. Then we'll have supper. And then around midnight I'll be relieved by the helmsman. He takes over the watch, does the night shift, the anchor watch and checks everything. Whether we slip, the position changes or whatever. Then we make sure that the guys can all sleep in peace, can rest for the next day. And then we see each other tomorrow morning.
One final photo for research purposes, and then it's good night and above all, good rest. The next morning.
Moin.
Nice sunglasses, Eric.
A beautiful colour, isn't it? Everyone's quite jealous of them. It's part of my little quirk, my trademark. I tend to use colourful utensils, clothing items usually.
Utensilien, Kleidungsgegenständen in der Regel.
I don't even know what socks I'm wearing under my socks today. The melons. Posh, right? Men are also allowed to show their colours. Not everything has to be black or white. That's why I've bought stuff that I find chic over the years.
Was ich schick finde.
I also like colours. In private, I also wear pink shirts in summer. No, not that pink.
Rosa.
Andreas and Eric discuss their favourite colours.
Ja, ist ein bisschen heller, ja. Ich werde mich das nächste Mal besser abstimmen darauf, ja. Eine Nuance heller. Ich bin eh farbenblind, mir ist das egal. Ich bin farbenblind, ja.
Yes, I'm colorblind. The official name is color vision deficiency. Officially, it's red-green. That's the name of the... Should I call it a disease? It expands to all possible colors. Yellow-green is relatively hard. Red-green too, green-blue. Everything that's near turquoise. Funnily enough, I have the feeling that I see it more intensely underwater when I put light on it. Otherwise, the colors disappear underwater the deeper you go. Red first and so on. It's not that I see no colors, but not as intensely as normal people.
Meanwhile, operations manager Frank finishes preparing the next dive. The 60-year-old has internalised all the relevant data about the next magnetic suspect point.
The goal is that we go to water at 10:30 in half an hour.
Stress is out of place on such construction sites. Of course, you have to proceed carefully, you have to work quickly, but you still have to keep in mind why we're here. If you find something, like if you uncover an object underwater that contains ammunition, for example, you have to be careful. One wrong decision can cost lives, and if you act stressed, it's probably not the right thing to do. The biggest challenge in such a job is that you must not be afraid. That's clear. Secondly, do not lose your sense of direction underwater. It gets you into strange situations. Just know exactly what you're doing. That's the real task. To stay cool no matter what you find.
As always, everything is checked thoroughly. Tobi makes sure that the next diving operation will be safe again. Instead of telling the diver to jump, the helmet is tapped on. A sign for the diver that the final safety check is complete and he can now enter the water. Andreas moves to his assigned position, always aware that the next object to be uncovered could also be life-threatening ammunition.
The probe into the water, into the bubbles.
Okay, my carabiner is hooked.
Okay, then first circle on 30.
They always start with low search levels. The probe is then sensitively adjusted and can thus also lead to larger objects from a further distance.
30 is on.
Make it 100.
$1,000 almost full. There must be something.
Prepare the suction cup.
Prepare the suction cap. Prepare the suction cap and let me know when it's ready to go into the water.
The suction cup helps the diver to carefully dig through the bottom of the Baltic Sea.
Further down.
Slowly, he goes forward.
No one knows how deep the object they're looking for is sunk into the ocean floor.
It's on the ground.
Turn it on. Water's coming in.
Water is coming in.
It's working.
Without the vacuum, this work would be impossible, and at the same time, it would be much too dangerous.
And then it gets dark when you suck about 1.20 meters deep. I'm starting to make contact. It's definitely solid steel. I can feel an eyelet 20 to 40 centimeters from the rear edge.
Von der hinteren Kante eine Öse spüren auf dem Körper.
According to the information that the diver gives me, I have the assumption that it's a bomb.
And that's of course difficult.
Slowly. I'll tell you when it's better. Yes, just leave it like that. Yes, you could see something, but not now. Now there's a cloud. Yes, now there would be good.
Indeed, Frank's suspicions are confirmed. Andreas has tracked down a bomb.
I'd say 1.20 meters.
1,20 Meter.
Length overall?
Length overall. And back here, from the end, I feel what could be a detonator. Of course, it's a strange feeling for someone up here who can't see what's happening down there now. Because if the thing blows up, if he makes a mistake, there are still 10 people up here who will be affected. The body is tapered and the front is also sheared off.
This means that part of the detonator is damaged and it must be assumed that the bomb is armed.
Clearly rear sheared fuse.
It could explode if one tries to move it.
I think at this point the job is done for us at the moment. I would say, diver, come back. Leave it all. Leave it all.
Lass es alles liegen.
Alles liegen lassen.
It weighs about 300 kilos. Most of it is explosives and a steel shell, so no one wants to have that on board with the uncertainty whether it might activate itself.
The last one we found, I think, was a 1,400 kilo bomb, so your senses are sharpened when you approach something like that.
The recovery and defusing of the bomb from the Second World War will be carried out by employees of the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Service, the KMBD. Thanks to the information and video recordings of the Baltic divers, they can now prepare themselves optimally.
Deformed here in front. I definitely felt an edge there.
That looks American to me. Just the two eyelets. I will send this to the KMBD through our office.
Dann werde ich das über unser Büro an den KMBD schicken.
This is similar to an excavator operator who accidentally finds ammunition during a work activity. Once he sees ammunition, he stops, turns off the excavator, gets out, tells everyone, ropes everything off, and then comes the ammunition salvage service and decide what to do.
Until the KMBD arrives, the area is closed for construction activities. For the team of the Baltic Sea Divers, the job is done. They have successfully explored the commissioned area and are now heading back to their home port of Rostock.